This is the round 15 edition of the Brisbane Lions Fancast. We're chatting all things Q-Clash in a minute. Before that though, Mike, the Hawthorne game, was it a disappointing loss or just par for the course against the premiership favourites?
I think it was par for the course, Dom, which sounds terrible when it's a 10-goal loss. But I think the effort was probably a bit better than the 10-goal deficit indicated.
You pointed out on the show last week that the main issue confronting Brisbane at the moment is that there's a big gap between our best and our worst. And I thought bits of the second quarter, bits of the third quarter, you saw our best. And then probably the last 10 minutes of the third quarter, you saw us at our worst. We were just basically witches' hats for a while there, and it wasn't great to watch.
As with most teams in that bottom half, the gap between the bottom and top half teams, it's really your efficiency is a big thing. I think you looked at a lot of the statistics after the game and there wasn't much in it. I think Hawthorne had 20 or 30 more disposals. The inside 50s were almost, I think they were identical. Contested possessions, clearances, they were all very, very similar. But it was just their use of the ball. Well,
Vossi's been talking for a few weeks now about our inability to put on scoreboard pressure and how that's been affecting us. And I think he's got a genuine point now because, as you said, the match was pretty even, but it was a 58-point blowout. And I feel like we are struggling to get points on the board. Now, I think I saw somewhere this week that we only have 3 players, round 14 of the season, only 3 players who've kicked 10 goals or more. You know, we're not talking 30s and 40s, we're talking 12 and 11 and 14 or something like that. What is the issue with our attack at the moment? Is it just a bit of a bit stagnant moving the ball, or is it just that we don't have a very potent forward line?
Well, it's probably a little bit of both. I mean, as we've said in the first few minutes here, I think that speed of ball movement's a huge issue because we saw the previous week Brisbane kicking, I think it was 8 goals in the last quarter against Geelong, who aren't the most lockdown defence in the competition, but hey, they're a top 2 team, and we've seen that really quick ball movement from the middle to the forward line gives those forwards a great chance to play one-on-one, and when those half-backs and those midfielders are running forward, like your Mitch Golbys and your Brent Maloney's and the Daniel Riches, and they're going forward, Brisbane looks a totally different team. One positive out of Sunday's match was certainly Jonathan Brown's form, I thought. A lot of talk about him, particularly early in the year and where he's at. We're still seeing that there's a lot of value in Brownie, not only his leadership, but we're actually seeing plenty of value in his play on the field. So that was a positive, but still trying to nail down that second target is obviously an issue, which I know we're going to get to later in the show, looking to this weekend's match against the Gold Coast. And probably those crumbing guys, they just have to hit the scoreboard, don't they? When Dane Zorko's probably hasn't hit the scoreboard as much as he did last year. You know, those small forward types, we haven't nailed them. Tom Rockliff's been playing forward. We're going to touch on that. James Polkinghorne's been playing a little bit forward.
Are we missing Josh Green?
Well, I was surprised that he was left out, and he hadn't probably played at the same level as he did in the back half of last year, but I was very surprised when he got left out. I think he's a very valuable guy. And
he gives something, doesn't he?
And he can find the goals.
I don't think there's many people who'll ever forget his final quarter as the super sub against West Coast last year, and just that crumbing ability and that speed is something I feel we're really missing, and so I wouldn't be surprised at all to see him come into the side this week against the Suns.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. There's a lot of selection headaches, isn't there, coming up to the match this weekend, which I can't wait to watch.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of more people you want to put in than people you want to take out, I think is the situation, and that is what it's like when you're full strength.
Fans amuse me sometimes. They jump up and down about wanting all these people in, but you got to take people out to do that, and people are prepared to say, why isn't he, and why isn't he, and why isn't he? You got to take people out for that, and there's things like team balance that I struggle to get my head around sometimes, and you know, I deal with the club quite regularly, and I struggle to get my head around that, so it is difficult, and like you say, when aside from the 2 boys with the knee recos, Clay Beams and Steve Wrigley, I think everyone's available at the moment, and possibly Dan Merritt, obviously, as hopefully his quad injury comes up, but his groin injury, comes up, but selection's very, very difficult this week.
It is a bit of a headache, and I suppose you do have to look at the people who have been mounting their case the most in the reserves. I would say Cunny's is, another 25-plus possession game. He'd have to be up there. The one for me, who I want to talk about, is Andrew Rains, who hasn't been setting the world on fire in the NEAFL, but has a very strong track record against Gary Ablett.
I went down to the Gold Coast on the weekend to cover the Gold Coast and Adelaide match, and Ablett had 30 possessions and 2 goals, and Brenton Sanderson, the Adelaide coach, said after the game that he would have taken that. He was delighted with Gary only having 30 and 2, and that's the sort of level that I think Rains has kept Gaz to around that 30 possession. I think he's essential this week.
No, I think you're probably right on that. Tom Rockliff has been playing forward exclusively recently, and I saw, and I know you did as well, on Twitter. On
Sunday's fans not happy, Dom?
No, they're not. They blew up a little bit about Rocky being exclusively used as a forward. He got one run in the midfield near the end and set up a goal to Elliot Yeo. So the question is is the forward experiment for Rocky, is it time to stop that, or is it time to make it just part-time again? Is it time we see Tom Rockliff, who won a best and fairest, it should be pointed out, playing as a midfielder, back in the engine room?
Yeah, he probably should start spending some more time in there. I quite like him as a forward, but not as that. Yeah, not as an exclusive forward. I really do like him spending time there, though. I think he's clever. He's a good grab for his size. He normally outmarks guys that are similar size and weight to him. So he's very good going forward on occasions. But yeah, you'd like to see him in the midfield. He is clever. He gets the ball. He knows how to get it. He knows where to find space. So it would be nice to see him spend a little bit more time in the midfield. But that's getting congested now, isn't it? When you've got Black, Maloney, Daniel Rich is back, and I know he's been used half back a little bit through the midfield. A lot of guys in that midfield mix. But I'd like to see him spend more time in there. Definitely, yeah.
And then there's the one you foreshadowed a bit earlier, Jordan Lisle. We need to sort out this second key forward post sometime soon.
What do you think, Dom? Like, I think he's had 3 games. I could stand corrected there. 3 games in the ones. We've struggled to see forwards get longer than that at the Lions this year, having a crack at that second tall forward. Do you think he's deserved more, and do you think he'll stay in?
I think he definitely deserves more, but I'm unsure if he will stay in or not.
He hasn't set the world on fire, but he's done enough in his couple of outings, I think, to warrant getting an extended crack at it.
I definitely agree. I
know
think
you're a bit of a fan. He's growing on you, isn't he?
Yeah, Lyle's joined the Dom club. There's a few of them in there now.
There is, yeah.
Carnesis, Golby and Lyle, I reckon.
Yep.
But no, I think that his game on Sunday almost needs to be looked back on as a 3-goal performance, because while he only kicked that one near the end, those other 2 goals they were brilliant. They were going straight through until a wind caught them.
I'm sure the Lions would like a couple of extra goals on their tally too. It would have helped, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. So I think that Lyle, both for his ability to impact the scoreboard, which isn't bad for the amount and the quality of the ball that comes down there, but also for the way he sets up others. His handballing is at an elite level, and he just he creates a presence. He's now bringing the ball to ground. The mantra for him was to play like a big man. I think he's doing that, and I think he should be persisted with.
Just to go from one of your favourites to one of mine, and that's Jack Redden. I know you're keen to chat about him. He's definitely one of my faves, Reddo. I think he's a terrific bloke and a terrific player. Where do you think he's at this season?
Well, I reckon he needs to move back in with Rocky, because whatever he's doing now is not working out that well. I think that he started to really show some form in terms of his kicking, that it was getting to a really good level. But the past few weeks he's made some uncharacteristic mistakes. He seems to have regressed a little in that way. And I know there was one particular play where I think it was Maloney burst down the sideline, hand passed it to Redden, who would have been in space, but he had his back turned to the ball, and he ended up missing it.
I do remember that, yeah.
And it's just stuff you don't expect to see from Jack Redden. And I don't exactly know what it is. Maybe it's just a bit of a form slump, but I don't think it's any coincidence that our best form of last season against Adelaide, and then Port Adelaide and Western Bulldogs to finish off the year, we had a very good end to last year, and I don't think it's any coincidence that coincided with Jack Redden playing his best footy. I think he is an integral player for us, and I'm hoping we can get him back firing, because there's a lot of potential in this side that isn't quite living up to where it should be at the moment. And if it all clicks like it did in that last quarter against Geelong, we're a scary proposition.
Tell you what, it's going to be tested this weekend. This is the match that I would think has scared most Lions fans for a long time. That we've had the 7 or 8 difficult matches, or so against the finals-bound teams or opponents. This is the first match against a team that wasn't in that bracket, but it's probably just as hard. There's a little bit of pressure on Brisbane now. They've come out of that block of matches against those finals teams, and now they play Gold Coast, who have improved a hell of a lot this season, and there's something genuinely riding on this for coaches, players, clubs, supporters, everyone. So I don't know if you, mate, are you as a supporter, is it scary? Is it nervous? Is it exciting? Or how do you look at this weekend?
Yeah, I am nervous. I feel like it's the first time we've come up against the Gold Coast and there's genuinely something to gain. There was fear of, oh, look, they're an expansion team. If we lose to them, that's a bit embarrassing. But that's not the case anymore. Gold Coast are now a legitimate force in the competition. And, now we're fighting for the right to be Queensland's number 1 side. Yep. Like, legitimately, that is what's on the line this weekend. If we lose this match, there is a genuine case to say that in 3 years, and 2.5 years, the Gold Coast have overtaken us, that they're now further ahead in their development than we are, and I don't think that's something any Lions fan would want to admit.
It could be ships in the night, couldn't it? It could be the handing over of the baton very quickly. And Lions fans might not like to put their hand up and admit it, but there's a lot of reasons to go along and watch Gold Coast this weekend. They've got so much exciting talent. You might not want to see it against your own team, but boy, there's some excitement machines there. Jagger O'Meara playing his first year is just an unbelievable player. Dion Prestia had a career high disposal count last weekend with 42 against Adelaide. A lot of talent aside from the ones we already know, like Gaz.
I think the higher up people at the Suns need to send a thank you card to Andrew Demetrio because he's given them some pretty good talent down there.
There we go. It's out. That's what we like to hear, Dom.
Well, no, they're lucky them.
And they were smart. They've recruited well, and we're seeing the fruits of it now. But there's plenty of interesting matchups. Both teams not really blessed at the moment for different reasons, with a lot of key tall guys, but there's a whole fleet of midfields and half-backs and half-forwards that are very exciting, and that match up very well against each other, I think.
Yeah, definitely. The game is at the Gabba. It's a Saturday twilight game at 4:40. The reserves play at Cooperoo at midday beforehand, so, it's Q-Clash all day. Get along to both games if you can. I know you're still sitting on the fence a little bit, but I'm going to ask you for a tip.
I really am sitting on the fence, and I came here knowing that I was going to be asked for a tip, and I still haven't been able to come up with one, and that's not to appease either set of supporters. I just genuinely don't know. I probably just lean to Brisbane ever so slightly, but with zero confidence.
Okay.
I think they've shown enough tenacity in the last 3 weeks. We've seen Freo, not enough class to push them. Geelong getting over the line, obviously, and Hawthorne, again, probably not enough class, but the effort's been there. Unfortunately, we've seen the same from the Gold Coast from a Brisbane point of view, because the Gold Coast were the same on the weekend against Adelaide. A lot of effort, just not enough class to finish off. So, I lean towards Brisbane, but it's very, very unconvincing tip, that one.
I'm backing us in. I'm going to go Brisbane by around about 25 points, I reckon. I think that's probably around about where it will end up.
You've got a better tipping record on this show than I have. So
well, you say that. I think I did go Lions by 14 on the weekend, though. So it's going downhill. But yeah, no, it's going to be an absolutely brilliant match. If you're a footy fan in Queensland, make sure you get along to the Gabba this Saturday. It is at 4:40, and it's going to be unmissable. We'll be here to wrap it up and look forward to the North Melbourne game next week. That's it for now. Bye.
See ya.